Alright, this is my review of The Mandalorian Season 1. Now, I recently watched this and I wanted to talk about it because I thought it was pretty well done. You know, it had a lot of good things going for it, some pretty good writing, good acting, and fairly engaging stories, and it really kind of took me off guard because I was expecting maybe something a little more like the Star Wars movies. And although it does at times feel like some of the films, when they get into the big action scenes, there's a lot of elements of this film that reminded me more of, say, old Clint Eastwood westerns, those Italian spaghetti westerns, or even, say, old samurai movies. There's some Kurosawa elements, even things like Lone Wolf and Cub, that really seem to be the fuel of this particular series. It's pretty well done. Not perfect. There were a few criticisms I'd have on the way, but for the most part, it was a very well-made series. I know that season 1 came out a couple of years ago. As those 3 fans of mine know, I generally watch films in the past, so it's not that big of a deal. So, anyhow, I wanted to talk about what I thought was good about this series. I think the actor Pedro Pascal, you don't really see his face very often, but he does a good job as the lead character. And it was neat, too, as well, for me to see, I was going to say Apollo Creed. I'm so used to him as Apollo Creed. But Carl Weathers play this character, Grief something or other. He's the one that gives the Mandalorian his commissions to go and collect bounties. So the series starts off with episode 1, which is, I thought, a very good introduction to the character. He wears a mask. He's mysterious. He's no nonsense. And he goes out and he collects bounties, collecting reward money for gathering dangerous characters from around the galaxy. Interesting premise. I wish, and this is just me being unnecessarily critical, like Disney even pays attention to this. I think the only thing they pay attention to is if I use video clips in my movie reviews so they can demonetize me. Were it up to me, I would have kept this series strictly episodic, where every single episode would have been the Mandalorian going off to complete a bounty, then maybe coming back, collecting his reward, repeat the pattern. You know, something almost like the A-Team or Quantum Leap. You know what I mean? It's a formula where every week is a different commission and he gets it and comes back and starts again. And then, you know, the cliffhanger could be something really big like a 2-parter. And then he continues with his mission. And of course, Baby Yoda's welcome to come along as well. I mean, that was kind of cool, seeing him with this child. Now, the Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever his name is, he doesn't really come in until like the 2nd or 3rd episode. But I did really enjoy seeing the 2 of them together. I thought that was an interesting twist. This faceless, nameless warrior and this child who may or may not be strong with the Force and can help out in his own ways through the episode. Anyhow, episode 1 was the introduction, and we do get to see Carl Weathers, and also Nick Nolte provided the voice of the Ugnaught character Quill. It was a good introduction to the character, and it led up to episode 2, the child, which is where the Baby Yoda comes into play. And it's basically, he goes, rescues this child to return for a bounty, and then has a change of heart and decides to rescue the child again and goes off on the run. So he's functionally a bounty hunter for the first 2 episodes, and then episode 3 and beyond, he's on the run for a good amount of the series. And kudos to Lucasfilm and the producers for pursuing practical effects with the Baby Yoda stuff. They could have so easily just gone with CGI instead of the puppetry, but really commendable that they went to more practical effects, augmented, I'm sure, with a little bit of CGI, but not that much. So that was really kind of cool to see. And of course, they went crazy with the merchandising and the marketing of the Baby Yoda. I mean, but again, you know, commendable to see practical effects. I think deep in my heart, I enjoy CGI, but I'd rather see the artistry that goes into practical effects, models, puppets, all the good old-fashioned stuff. Remember me, old-fashioned stuff. Episode 3, we see the Mandalorian. He upgrades his armor a little bit with some of his reward money, but now he's the man on the run. We get a little more background on who he is, what the Mandalorians are all about. That was kind of cool, but at the same time, I kind of liked the mystery of the Mandalorians. And they could have left that out or resolved it in the future, and I would have been fine with that. Episode 3 ends, Mandalorian's on the run with the child. And then we get to episode 4, Sanctuary. So the Mandalorian goes into hiding with Grogu, and he goes to this rural planet where essentially what is going on is the plot from the Seven Samurai. There's this rustic village, and it's being raided by these mean people who are using Imperial technology. So Mandalorian is there. He helps them build up and train and prepare to fight. And along with him is Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune. Episode 5 moves on to the Gunslinger with the Mandalorian on Tatooine. Now, here's the thing about nostalgia. A little bit goes a long way, okay? I like saying Tatooine. That's great. But the fact that the Mandalorian goes to Tatooine, goes to Mos Eisley, goes to the same bar, the Creature Cantina, that's under new management, I guess. But just the fact that this universe is so enormous, and yet he winds up at that same exact spot, I don't know. However, we'll ride with it. He meets another bounty hunter. They go off on a mission together. There's a little bit of a betrayal. Mandalorian's on the run again. Episode 6 was The Prisoner, and in this one, the Mandalorian infiltrates a prison ship to set some people free. It was an interesting one. At the very least, I enjoyed seeing Clancy Brown of Highlander and SpongeBob fame as the big red alien monster. Thought that was some pretty good casting, actually. Episode 7, The Reckoning. The Mandalorian hears from his friend Carl Weathers, the character Greef Karga, that his hometown has been overrun by Imperial troopers and he needs help. Now, at this point, I'm still kind of confused about what exactly is going on with the Empire at this time. I thought it had fallen in Return of the Jedi, but I guess there's still pockets of Imperial people doing this or that. I don't know. All this means basically is there's still a lot of stormtroopers out there, and they have guns and stuff. So this episode involved a lot of shooting and fighting and explosions. So they're going to use Baby Yoda as bait to lure out this client, the one who wants him back. And the client also notably was played by Werner Herzog. He's a great actor, probably said his name wrong. Love his voice. And during the course of events, though, the client is eventually killed by a big bunch of stormtroopers that arrive, and they're led by this character Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. The episode ends with Baby Yoda captured, and the heroes are surrounded. Why exactly he's dressing sort of like Darth Vader, I don't know. And he also carries a dark saber, even though apparently he's not a Jedi or Sith. I don't know. So I messed up part of the video recording, so I'm just patching in this part here. So episode 8 is the season finale, and it continues with the Mandalorian, Cara Dune, and Greef. They're all pinned down by these Imperial forces. At one point, the Mandalorian is badly wounded, and he has this reprogrammed IG-11 robot help heal him, but to do so involves taking his helmet off. So we briefly get to see the actor Pedro Pascal under the helmet, and he's repaired, and the heroes eventually make their way through these sewers to escape. And at one point, they're traveling along a lava river underground, and there's a big final fight with Moff Gideon and his TIE fighter versus Mandalorian with his cool jetpack. And like I do with my movie reviews, I'm not going to give any spoilers, so, go check this exciting finale out for yourself, and you can see how everything ends. So that's my thoughts about The Mandalorian. Ludwig Göransson did the music, and you can't help but think that he borrowed a little heavily from Bill Conti's music from Rocky from 1976. I couldn't help hearing that Mandalorian theme, that da-da-da-da-da, and not hear Rocky preparing to go fight Apollo Creed, which was actually kind of cool, considering that Apollo Creed was Carl Weathers, who was also in this series as well. I don't know, what do you think, Baby Yoda? Am I overanalyzing this one? Yes!
Holden, you seek William Holden. Take you to him. I will. William Holden. For my close-up, I am ready, Mr. DeMille.